What's up guys, King Crisis here. Welcome to the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Before we go into this video, guys, we are only 129 subscribers away from reaching 5K. Please like, subscribe, and hype this video. Hype is a new feature which YouTube has added, and basically where you see where the comment button at, just swipe over to the right and there's this new option called hype. It is essentially YouTube version of reposting a creator's video, except on YouTube you can't have friends, so it literally just pushes my video out there in the algorithm once more. So please hype the video. I'm trying to get to 5K, and well, I got a pretty big special coming out, or I think it's pretty big. I like the idea. So with that being said, let's start this video. The story starts off with the young Izuku kicking his feet back and forth. He's sitting down within a hospital chair as he looks forward towards the doctor, ecstatic. There, Inko could be seen sitting down beside her baby boy. She has a pretty big smile on her face. The doctor walks inside and he looks towards Inko. Well, Mrs. Midoriya, Izuku here has a very powerful quirk. Inko looks forward immediately. Yes, doctor? What is it? He didn't say, well, it seems Izuku inherited a lot from his grandfather. Inko looks forward, intrigued. Hasashi had a pretty interesting quirk as well. From what you say, his quirk was photosynthesis. Yours was telekinesis, and, well, Hasashi's grandfather could manipulate vines. Inko looks forward and nods. Well, Izuku here has a combination of all three of you guys' quirk, and, well, it also mutated on top of that. Izuku Midoriya's quirk is nature manipulation, allowing him the ability to control plants and solar energy as he pleases. Wait, solar energy? So he can control heat? The doctor will shake his head no. He can use solar energy in order to power himself. Plus, the longer he's out in the sun, the more his vines will be able to grow. His weakness is too much darkness. Too much darkness over Izuku will weaken his defects of his quirk. But he do have the ability to use solar energy to heal others, to heal himself, and fire beams of energy from what we can see. It does not say he could do anything amongst this, but we also know that his main power is nature manipulation, creating roots, vines, thorns, creating a little poisonous gas actually that he can release from pollen, and well, he's able to create seeds that can rapidly grow. Inko looks towards Izuku, then she looks back towards the doctor. That's incredible. What is his weaknesses? The doctor then was saying, like I said, extreme levels of darkness. For too long, being immersed in too much darkness can weaken his quirk. And extreme fire or extreme cold. He cannot be in extreme cold. He also cannot control his plants as well underneath extreme levels of heat because the plants will be burning. Extreme levels of cold, on the other hand, are just simply weakened towards himself, and it could cause his plants to slowly die. But if Izuku has enough power built up, he will be able to continue to use his quirk, plus he will still have his solar energy effects, which means he will still be able to fire blast of energy released from his body. From here, Izuku has a smile on his face as he's pretty much brought home. From here, a young 4-year-old Izuku began to go in his backyard and play around with his quirk. After all, it's illegal to use your quirks out in public, but within the safety of your own home or within the safety of your own yard, you are allowed to train as you please. So, during this time, Izuku would focus just simply using his quirk, sprouting grass, flowers, oranges, just fruits. If you guys hear me talking in the background, I'm sorry, I don't really have a choice. I live with family, and I'm still in school. I'm a teenager. I don't really got no command over that. But back to what I was saying. He played around within his home, and literally, by the time they woke up, Izuku sprouted a whole forest in their backyard. Inko was a bit freaked out because, well, they do live in a bit of an apartment complex, but the neighbors did not mind. He literally he kind of expanded more room. And now we time skip towards a 4-year-old Izuku making it back to school. Izuku makes it to school the next day, where from there he would show off his quirk to his classmates, creating plants all around the class and even bringing the teacher's plants back to life. The teacher doesn't really have a good green thumb. It's actually really trash, so he's not really that good at actually bringing plants to life. He's not good at gardening. But Izuku brought the teacher's plants back to life. Many people began to tell Izuku that his quirk is great, people except for the likes of Bakugo, who would tell Izuku that his quirk is kind of weak. He can manipulate plants, so what? Of course, guys, they are not saying this because his quirk is actually weak. They're saying this because they are kids and do not understand the full extent of Izuku's quirk yet. So, Bakugo would make fun of him and continuously poke at him and call his quirk weak. That is, of course, until, well, they eventually get into like the 10th grade. Wait, no, that is, of course, until they eventually get into like the 5th grade. Whereas from there, people actually start understanding the true power of Izuku's quirk. And Izuku himself is still going to be a quirk nerd. He's still going to do insane amounts of research. And the only real change to Izuku will be his physical appearance. He looks exactly how he looks in the thumbnail. But that is really about it. Everything else about him is relatively the same. He still is friends with Bakugo, despite Bakugo telling him for many years that his quirk was weak. They are still close friends, due to the fact of how close their families are, and due to the fact that realistically, Deku has a powerful quirk, and he's like the only other person there that really can compete with Bakugo. Bakugo still calls it weak because he knows from Izuku specifically that his power is technically Izuku's weakness. So, Bakugo would still consider himself to be the strongest because what is Izuku going to do to him? Exactly. This would lead to him still having a bit of an ego, but Izuku just still himself. He doesn't really care about Bakugo thinking his quirk is stronger than his, because by the time they got to 5th grade, they begin to watch a lot of videos on Hero Course pre-Hero Course. Basically, a little class I literally just made up that they go through where they watch people with heroic quirks use their quirks and understand the danger of all types of quirks. When they got on over towards Izuku's emitter quirk, and they figure out that Izuku can technically manipulate all plant life on the planet, create plant life, and they begin to show off heroes like Kamui Woods, a hero who has the quirk to manipulate vines, and they see all the powerful things that they can do. This caused many students in the class to just start looking at Izuku in a bit of a different manner. They see all these heroes capable of doing these absurd things with their quirks. They know for an absolute fact if all these heroes can do this as if it's nothing. Like 9 times out of 10, Izuku can also do this like it's nothing. It puts a bit of a different look on Izuku, because most people didn't really see him as that dangerous. But now, they really start to see him as dangerous. And even learning that he literally just needs photosynthesis, that's about it. They even learned that even if they shine a flashlight on Izuku, that light is technically helping him. Because if you didn't notice, you can grow plants using light. Like light, it just takes a longer time. And they grow a bit weaker and smaller, but they still can grow from it. Which is pretty much immediately seen as a really big problem for pretty much everyone around. So from here, we do a big time skip. Run over towards the start of the original story. Where there you would see a young Izuku just having his head back. He just lays back and he's like, I want the day to get over with. The teacher would come into the classroom. Whereas from here, he would throw the papers into the air, saying his classic line, I know you all want to be heroes. Everyone around will become very ecstatic, all using their quirks. Izuku and Bakugo, on the other hand, are not using their quirks. The teacher explained they have 2 students here applying towards UA, Izuku Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo. The class would actually go wild, being extremely ecstatic to see what these 2 are going to do. Bakugo in his timeline doesn't really say that everyone here is going to be lucky to be sidekicks to a D-lister because, well, Izuku's here. This version of Izuku having a quirk does have a bit of an effect on Bakugo. He still is for the most part himself, but he is a bit more cautious on how he treats people. Just a little bit. It's still Bakugo. Just a little bit. So, he doesn't say it, but he was definitely thinking it. This will lead to everyone beginning to ask Izuku, how does he think he's going to get in? Izuku explains that, he doesn't even know himself. He does know now that he can create little plant monsters, as he would show them, as he would literally create a little Venus flytrap that can move. It had legs and literally bit down, and they were just looking a bit terrified. As then Izuku would wave his hand, and the plant would disperse into little grass. Bakugo says, okay, and what will happen if I were to blow that thing up? Deku just looks at him and shrugs his shoulders. Then you'll blow it up? He would say, looking towards him like he was kind of a stupid fool. And Bakugo's like, okay, don't give me that look. Deku says, I'm just saying, you asked a very obvious question. If you would blow him up, you would blow it up. What you think was going to happen? I don't know, Bakugo would say. Well, I just answered it. If you blew it up, it would blow up. Okay. I'll just make another one though, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. Maybe I'll fuel one with the light energy and see what that do to it. I should have been experimented on this. From here, we do a time skip. On over towards Deku leaving as he's going home. Bakugo will chase after him, ask him if they want to go hang out, but Deku says his mom's birthday, he got to go meet up with her very soon. So, he winds up going underneath the same tunnel that he would have in the original timeline, which would lead to the Sludge popping out. Now, when a Sludge pops out, he still would rush towards Deku in order to get inside of his body. But quickly, Deku does the first thing that comes to his mind. He encases his entire body with a wooden armor that completely blocks the Sludge from penetrating through. When I tell you this armor has no cracks whatsoever, not even nose cracks for Izuku to breathe. He purposely covered his entire body in this wood. From here, Izuku would jump backwards, encased in his armor, or then the armor begins to have yellow lines glow all throughout it. Izuku looks forward and points both his hands forward as a massive beam of pure solar energy is released and just blasts the Sludge away. A massive blast disperses the Sludge everywhere. Whereas from here, Izuku would lower both of his hands and would think, "Jeez, freaking freak." He turns around and begins to walk away. Whereas from here, you would hear, "I am here!" Oh my. Deku would slowly but surely turn. The armor would just disperse off of his body, with the wood going back into his skin. Izuku looks forward and he put both his hands on his head. He has a shocked facial expression. He's like, "Oh my!" He has a huge smile ever. He rushes forward, faster speeds than what All Might was even expecting from this kid. He literally basically just appeared in front of him. Izuku immediately held out his hand. "My name is Izuku Midori. Can I get your autograph? Please. Yeah, of course, kid. Anytime, young man. Yes! Izuku literally starts jumping up and down as he literally straight up hugs All Might. All Might just stands there, kind of confused. He's a little concerned, actually. He just this random whatever. He goes ahead and accepts the autograph. And he's okay. Is everyone doing okay? They would nod. Yes. Deku from here winds up going off. We're going to time skip because, well, All Might still has to leave. I don't see this version of Deku holding on to All Might, so I don't see the Sludge escaping in this timeline. Usually I would make the Sludge escape and blah, 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 but I got plans for this Deku, and I don't want to give him one for all. So, with that being said, we time skip on over towards Deku, making it home. Now, we're going to cover the 10 months of training. What I can see happening in this 10 months of training is simply just Deku going off into a abandoned forest. And now you're thinking, abandoned forest? The fuck? I mean a forest that is no longer taken care of by the city. A forest that is no longer paid attention to by the government. They don't pay attention to this forest anymore. They don't care about the forest. So I can see Deku going into this forest and, well, immediately activating his quirk, seeing what he can do. The first thing that he would do is he would use his vines in order to spread them all across the forest. The second he does this, vines would wrap around tree after tree after tree. With the vines splitting through the trees, Deku then proceeds to have all of this forest be connected to him via his vines. Just like that, all of the vines were connected. He quickly lifts up his hand and immediately begins to activate his quirk. Closing his eyes, he would fuel as much power as he can throughout it. Lifting up his hand, the forest begins to shake. As Deku would close his eyes, breathe in, breathe out, and explode. Instantly, vines begin to shoom all around the forest, all around the trees, wrapping around tree after tree after tree after tree. From here, he proceeds to lift up his hands and let off a burst of power, and boom, vines exploded out and shrunk back down. From here, he begins to use all the trees that he has his vines wrapped around, and he begins to literally break these trees apart, and he literally built a giant mansion inside of this forest. You're probably wondering why. He just wanted to see if he could do it, and he successfully did it. And then he proceeds to just kind of leave the house there. It is perfectly built. Everything is made out of wood, of course, so, the walls, the interior, everything. There is no electricity, obviously. He doesn't have that type of stuff. But he literally made a little cabin entirely out of wood. From here, he would smile. And then inside the forest, every single day, he would train his vines. He would train his plants. He would train his wood armor. And he would even learn how to create thorns. These thorns that he can release from his vines, or they can just straight up grow out of his body. These thorns not only shoot off at speed so quickly, they can shoot straight through steel. They're also powerful enough to literally explode, and when they explode, they release a poisonous gas, which he could already do from his pollen, but now he can release it out in little thorn-like bullet forms, allowing him to constantly release these thorns out that will constantly release this gas. This makes Izuku extremely ecstatic. With powers like this, he would realistically be unstoppable. He begins to train his vines pretty similar to what Canon Deku would do with Black Whip. He even goes out, stays in the forest. He would put wood around his fist, and he would have thorns on the ends of his knuckles. These thorns will have a poison effect just like his normal thorns would, but these are different. They're not the same thorns as the ones that he shoot out. These are more or less a close quarters thorn. Basically, he hits you with them and they cut you. A bit of the poison is already put into your body. Now, the poison isn't powerful enough to kill, but it is strong enough to greatly hurt, injure, and slow down his opponents. Now, the ones that he can shoot, on the other hand, they can't kill unless it gets inside of you. So if you are shot by them, and I'd say 6 of them were to get inside of you, the poison from it would be strong enough to kill you. Okay? That is it, though. He uses his wooden armor, and with these thorns, he will go off into this forest and fight quirked animals. And when I say quirked animals, it does not matter what animal it is, because every single quirked animal are like fighting a beast from the Dark Continent. Okay? Every last animal in there is that powerful. So he goes off and fights monster after monster after monster, and he keeps on fighting them. He would beat the brakes off of every single monster there, and then he would leave and go home the next day. So from here, we now time skip on over towards the UA entrance exams. What I can see starting pretty similar to what it would have in the original timeline. I don't really see that much of a change happening. This version of Deku is still mostly Deku, so I can still see him being a bit nervous. I don't see him being scared and thinking that he's not going to do it. I just see him being nervous, like, damn, what if I can't? I mean, I'm pretty sure I can, but like, what if I can't? Like, he's overthinking, which I can see him still tripping. I can still see Ochako saving him, except this time around, I don't see him really being too nervous. He still talks to her like things is normal, and Bakugo just basically tells him that he's kind of a bitch just for tripping. And they would argue a little bit, but that's about it. From here, we time skip on over towards Deku, making it on over towards the section where they would take the test. I can see this going pretty similar to canon, except for the fact that when Ida calls him out, Deku just looks at him and says, okay, first off, I don't know who you think you're talking to. He looks around, but it ain't me. Let's get that straight. Secondly, just because you're this guy, or I'm assuming you're one of those assholes that think they know everything, just don't think you can sit here and talk to anyone any type of way. You're being rude. President Mike was speaking, so let President Mike finish speaking. And if I was distracting anyone else, please say so now. Oh, silence. Okay. Now, shut up and let him speak. And I hate to be rude, but you started it. And Ida couldn't do nothing but just kind of be quiet, and Bakugo sitting beside that was like, okay. My boy's standing up for himself. Okay, Deku. I'm sorry. From here we time skip. Boom. Alright, so Deku makes it on over towards, let's say the... Oh wait, we're not talking about the robot exam starts. Now, the robot exams would start. Deku tries walking upward in order to reach Ochako, but Ida would grab his shoulder. Now, as Ida grabs Deku's shoulder, Deku just knows, like he just can just feel that it's the same guy. He literally would just release a vine. It wraps around Ida's waist and just slowly picks him up and slowly pushes him to the back of everybody. Ida realizes what this kid just did. You use your quirk, but the gates would open. And when the gates open, Deku isn't like everybody else. He wastes no time. He would immediately cover his legs in wooden armor, as in the wooden armor would glow with the solar energy buildup being released. He used the solar energy buildup release plus the wooden armor to unleash a powerful leap that launches him high into the air. Once he's high in the air, he would immediately create a giant, like wings made entirely out of leaves sprout from his back. Kind of similar to what Swamp Thing does in with Injustice 2 whenever he like wins, or yeah, I think it's whenever he wins, but Swamp Thing, the same exact thing he does. Deku uses these wings to fly off at speeds. It's crazy speeds. He appears right in front of a One Puncher. With wood covering his fist, he flies forward and delivers a destructive punch to the robot's head. The robot would not be destroyed. Deku would just simply smile as he flies forward and hits the ground. A few kids seeing what happened, and they kind of just look to see what's going to happen, as suddenly vines would explode out from the robot's insides, completely destroying the robot from the inside out. All the teachers would see this and they would look forward, shocked. From here, Deku would literally use his vines. He begins to literally tear the robot apart, and these vines would literally crush it down to a small orb that then the vines, plus what's around it, would just drop into the earth. And the ground itself will repair itself like nothing ever happened. And when I say repair itself, the vines themselves are used to fix the ground. From here, Deku rushes forward towards the next robot, easily using his wooden armor to jump upwards again, but this time around he kicks the robot several times before shooting a burst of wood right through the robot's chest. From here, he would do this to several more robots, easily taking the robots down with powerful kicks and punches, all enhanced by his wooden armor, capable of literally destroying like even these robots, like it's literally nothing. And when he isn't doing that, he's being dramatic and causing the nature that he can release from his armor to just shoot all throughout the robot's insides, tearing it apart that way. From here, we cut on over towards Deku with a pretty big smile on his face as he's gotten a good deal of points. He even decides to stop destroying robots at this point and go over and start helping other students. He will see kids who are crying and kids who are just not doing as good as him, so he decides, hey, I'm gonna go help those guys. He goes off towards each and every single one of them, and he would use their quirks in order, he would use his healing powers in order to help them. And when he isn't doing that, he would still use his solar power to basically give kids who are tired more energy. Because, realistically, anyone or anything can go through photosynthesis. So he uses his energy in order to help others. So from here, he's getting a good toll of hero points and combat points. From here, we're able to time skip on over towards when the 0 points are arrived. Like normal, all the other students would run, screaming, "No, we can't defeat that thing!" Ah! And Deku would see the same exact kid who was talking all that smack to him run right past him. Deku himself slowly turns around and he starts walking off until he hears a scream for help. The second thing he hears this, he would immediately close his eyes and channel his vines all throughout the ground. He then will literally focus on the exact frequency of sound where he hears the screams from. Using his vines, he would shoot them up through the ground. With Izuku literally being able to see through his vines and hear through his vines, he sees exactly where Ochako is. He then would literally wrap her up in his vines like a cocoon. As this happens, Deku Jin would turn as he begins to walk forward. Everyone begins to just stop, and they all turn and sees Izuku just calmly walking towards a gigantic robot. Deku then proceeds to hold out both of his hands. His eyes begin to glow green. He lets off a huge scream of pure power, with the yellow aura exploding off of his body. He then proceeds to create a humongous, giant plant freaking monster. And it looks, it looks like a, okay, so imagine Swamp Thing, right? We all know how Swamp Thing looks. Okay, now bulk him up, give him thorns coming out of his body, make his eyes just pure yellow, give him a Venus flytrap for ears, give him sharp teeth. This only thing I really want you to imagine is Swamp Thing's physical build. Don't even think about his face, any of that. And this monster proceeds to rush forward, and it booms the 0 points with a powerful punch, and another one, and another one. And it literally looks like a giant kaiju battle. From here, the vines that he had wrapped around Ochako throws the rubble off of them because it literally wrapped around Ochako, not the rubble itself. So the vines would throw the rubble off of him as the vines would literally float upwards and they would travel towards Deku. He then proceeds to remove the vines, but from there, he literally drops down to one knee. Creating that kaiju takes up a lot of power. So as he literally cannot hold the monster for long, he proceeds to lift up his arm. his arm, he literally commands the monster to destroy it immediately. The monster would immediately just slam powerful punch after punch after punch, and then it starts tearing the 0 pointer apart. Izuku begins to call for blood. He spits out the blood on the ground, and using his other arm, he would use the remaining of his energy in order to heal Ochako. As this happens, the monster would slowly fade away, and Izuku would pass clean out. From here, Izuku will be brought on over towards Recovery Girl, along with several others. As this happens, there you would see Aizawa and all the... Well, no, you would see Aizawa was in Recovery Girl's office. Deku would slowly wake up, and Aizawa stares at him. And Deku just looks, "Hi, where am I? Who are you guys? What you did was risky, kid. It was stupid. You could have killed yourself doing that." He then looks towards him. "You're a very powerful kid, and I have no doubt that you got into 1A, but I'm going to tell you this one time and one time only. Do not make foolish decisions like that." Deku then would say, "Hey, it's a life over my own life. That's how it goes being a hero. That's what a real hero is willing to do. I did what I thought was the right thing. I did what was the right thing." Did the girl survive? Did anyone get hurt? Aizawa would say, "Yeah, you did. You got hurt. And yes, she survived." From here, Deku would say, "What's your name?" Aizawa would stop before saying, "Call me Mr. Aizawa." And then he walked off. From here, Recovery Girl would scold Deku, just like Aizawa did, except in a more elderly, nicely fashion. She didn't do it basically as ruthlessly as Aizawa did, but she did still tell him not to do something like that again, because he could have got himself killed. From here, Izuku would make it home, and Inko would quickly rush and hug her baby. I mean, he was gone for a long time. She was a bit freaked out. From here, we would time skip on over towards when the UA letter would reach his home. Like normal, the letter would reach his home, and once it does, he winds up seeing that he got first place by far. As he sees this, he realized that his kaiju that he created was like insanely powerful. Not only was this the case, they literally sent the videos of every student using their powerful quirks. Not only did they send the videos, but they're all uploaded onto their own private social media accounts. And Izuku's a bit confused as to how they did that, but hey, it's whatever. And Izuku doing this literally blew up all across the internet. A kid with a powerful nature quirk, probably the strongest nature quirk they've ever seen, goes viral for literally saving a student and creating a monster so powerful it's bigger than a 0 pointer. Although it didn't instantly destroy the 0 pointer, it was still bigger than a 0 pointer. This makes him become a social media sensation. But we're not really going to cover that. So we time skip on over towards Izuku making it to UA for his first day. Like normal, he would enter the classroom with Bakugo and Ida arguing. Ida would rush on over towards him, still bowing and telling him that he's a better student than he was, explaining to him about the rescue section. He then would ask Deku how did he know about that. And Deku just looks at him. I didn't? He would say, confused. Wait, what? Why would I have known about the rescue section? It's known to be a secret section that pretty much every year students have to keep a secret. What do you mean, why? What do you mean? Because it's common sense. Also, it's me just doing the right thing and being a hero. I saw that she was in danger and I decided, hey, I'm gonna save her. I'm not gonna let her die. I didn't know what else I should have really have done in that situation aside from save her. Oh, well, I just feel horrible. Nah, you're not horrible, he would say. It's okay. I mean, you wasn't thinking about that, and it's understandable. You were still putting your own life first, and not all heroes are willing to sacrifice their life for others. Hell, not all people are. But I can see that one day you'll get to that level. I can see that you truly want to be a hero. Bakugo then says, oh my god, blah, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up with all that sentimental shit. Deku, I heard about what you did. I seen it all over social media. I can't wait to run my one. Deku just looks at him. Oh, you just think you're gonna embarrass me. Bakugo then says, hey, what's the score? Deku then would say, it's 9-9. Bakugo then would say, you right. 9-9, okay. 9-9. When I'm done, it's gonna be 9-11. Whoa! Pause! Bro, what's wrong with you? Deku would say, Bakugo says, oh, I'm sorry. But you got the joke though, right? Explosions, building collapses from plane crashing and exploding. Okay, I'm sorry. Bakugo just puts his face down, and Aizawa would eventually enter the classroom along with the rest of the students. He would say the same line he does in the original timeline, still handing them their uniforms and still telling them to meet him at ground, I think Gamma, Beta, one of the two. Still telling them to meet him outside. Ochako would still question him about orientation. Aizawa would still tell him that, like, this is his classroom. And in UA, they can run classes however they see fit. And he sees fit that they don't do that stupid ass shit. So, screw it, they're doing what he said do. And Ochako literally can't argue with them. So they would sigh and she would go off and she would put on her uniform as well. This would lead to the same scene happening. Well, Mineta goes forward in order to peep into the hole, but Deku just walks forward, pushes him to the side, places his hand on the hole and would seal the hole. Mineta then would cry, no! Why would you do that? Deku then slowly turns and looks at him with his eyes flaring green in such a dark manner that, like, you can literally see the bloodlust coming off of him. And Mineta just goes straight silent. Bakugo walks forward before saying, Duke, you don't think you kind of scared the kid? Deku then would say, what would you have done? Hit him with an explosion? Okay. You see how you sound, right? You see how you sound? Yeah, I'm sorry. All right then. From here, we cut on over towards them, making it outside. As I would throw the ball to Izuku. Izuku Midoriya, you have first place in your entrance exams with a whopping score of over 1,033 points. As everyone hears it, they all will slowly turn and look towards him, stunned. 133 points over 1,033 points, as I would say. Wait, then what's the actual score? Aizawa just looks at him and says, they didn't feel like adding all them hero points up. It's a lot of hero points. They didn't feel like doing that. What? Deku would say, hold up. You telling me, estimate how many points you think I would have had, like, all together. Some 3,000 something. We didn't feel like doing that. 3,000 something? 3,000 something? Aizawa then would tell him to get the ball as far away as he possibly can. Deku would look towards the ball as his arms would immediately be coated in wood. The wood would have golden cracks spread throughout it once more as he began to spin his arm very, very rapidly. The class watches onward intrigued as Deku would launch the ball into the air, and from his armor, a vine would shoot out of it and smack the ball once more in the air. Aizawa looks forward as the ball gets a whopping 900 something meters. The class looks forward stunned. Kirishima then goes, oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. Fun? Whoever gets the lowest score will be expelled. Okay, this is not gonna be fun. Quickly, the class immediately, everyone locks the fuck in. And honestly, I can see Deku getting either second to third place in basically everything. He either gets second or third place. Because except for the side to side, I just do not see him beating Mineta. I really don't see anyone beating Mineta in the side to sides. But everything else, he gets top 5 in everything else. Because I just don't see him getting first place in all those other events, even with this powerful quirk. I don't see it. I literally just do not see him getting it. So, with that being said, we time skip. Baby. Alright, so we time skip on over towards Izuku going home that day. As he's going home, Ochako and Ida would still all stop and talk to him, and even Bakugo. As they're talking, they see Deku literally going off, and he literally slowly starts diverging with them, going towards the forest. Everyone just stops and looks at him and says, you know that forest is like no longer underneath city protocol, right? No one does anything about it anymore. The quirked animals in there are too strong for some heroes. Deku then would say, yeah, but part of my quirk pretty much protects me from these types of animals, and my mother and I are protected in here. And he's like, where are you going, Bakugo would ask, into my house? Deku then would say, wait. You mean into your cabin? There's no electricity in there. Deku then smiles before saying, no, there wasn't. His dad fixed the place up a bit, and they got air conditioners, plugs, and all types of stuff now. Bakugo then immediately runs. Oh no, I want to see it! And wait. What about Auntie Inko? Deku then was saying that she's still at home. Then why are you going here and not home? Deku then would say that his mother can protect herself. She's more than powerful enough to do so. And he just wants to spend the night at his own actual house. Do you have to pay bills there? Deku then would say, no, the government literally does not care about the forest whatsoever. They don't care about anything inside of it. Unless, well, one of the crazy animals gets out and go wild. But they don't care. Plus, I literally have almost every monster in there underneath my control. What do you mean? Can you, actually control them? He would shake his head. No, he can't actually, but they're all scared of him. So, they, all instinctually stay away from his home, and they all stay away from him. He goes inside of his home, where from there I can see him just sleeping here for the night. Now, we time skip, and when I say we time skip on over towards, I'm gonna, All Might walking your door like a normal person. And real quick, guys, I'll be taking my break from here. I do not know how long this video is right now. I don't even know which minute I'm on right now. But, hopefully y'all enjoying this. I'm enjoying it. I'm walking through the door like a normal person. All of Class 1A lets off extreme and ecstatic screams. All Might! Everyone would say, as everyone in Class 1A would all be looking forward towards the symbol of peace, the #1 pro hero. They all would look forward, astonished. All of them just stunned. The rumors were true. He's actually working here. All Might will clap his hands as the entire class becomes happy. They all are excited. All Might then, of course, will still tell them about their hero suits. He will still tell them about the hero versus villains, where from there the teams will be picked. I will be putting Izuku on a team with Izuku and Mina, going up against Bakugo, and let's do something different. Bakugo and Kaminari versus Izuku and Mina. Deku looks forward, as he looks forward towards Bakugo. The two of them cracking crazy smiles. Now, Deku's hero suit literally just was an all green suit and just an all green jumpsuit. Everyone looked and they're like, wow, that's so, honestly, Deku, that's kind of basic. Deku would say, oh, he knows, but it isn't gonna be how he was gonna have his suit made. As he walks forward, he proceeds to go into the bathroom. He puts the suit on. He comes back into the classroom, where from here, he would lift up his hands as vines begin to grow all across the suit. Whereas from there, you look on the thumbnail, you guys see the little plant thing he has around his suit. That would form a symbol made entirely out of flowers, and vines would form. And imagine a pretty cool suit with plants and stuff on it. That's what you can think of. They look for it like, oh, that's actually pretty good. And then he decided to be extra. He starts adding his wood armor on top of it. That way he won't have to activate this again. Now his suit is finished, completely finished, with his quirk literally being active on it already. He even coats the inside of the suit with his wooden armor. Now, he's immune to wood, okay? He can't get splinters, no nothing, and it literally just feels like it's part of his body. He doesn't feel heavier, no nothing. Bakugo is the only one who noticed what he did. Oh, that's smart as hell. Wait, can I cover my suit in my sweat? He would think. Nah, that'll just be disgusting at this point. But we time skip. Deku in his timeline, him and Ashido will be the villains, okay? So him and Ashido will be the villains, okay? I think I said Suyu, guys. I meant Ashido. No, Mina. Yeah, I said Mina. I was right. Okay, him and Mina will be the villains, so they will get the head start. As they get the head start, Mina then would say, so, what are we gonna do? Deku says, firstly, this. As he lifts up his hands, he would shoot vines all throughout the ground, and they would create a little, they would create a cocoon around the bomb. And then he would lift up his hands, and he would create wood, as these woods will form a wooden cube around the cocoon that's around the bomb. He then will lift up his hands, as the cube would literally expand with thorns shooting out of it. She then would say, whoa. Deku then would say, that way they'll have to get through all of that before they can actually get to the bomb itself. He then would say, Me and Bakugo have a score to settle, okay? Which means that he's most likely going to be coming after me. Kaminari, from what we know, is he's a little bit, how do I say this, behind. He's hilarious, but he's a little behind. So what that means is I'm going to be asking you, I'm just asking, you don't have to do this, but can you be the one who go after Kaminari while I go after Bakugo? She looks forward before nodding, saying that she can do this. Deku then would smile. Words from here, get over here, Deku! Bakugo at this point has already made it upstairs as he explodes through the room. Deku then would say, damn, Kachan, you got here real fast. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the vines are spooling out and they're literally attached to the roof. You'll see why I did that, but anyways. Bakugo starts clapping his hands and Deku just looks towards him as he instantly gets into a fighting stance, with Bakugo booming towards Deku and Deku literally zipping forward. Immediately, Deku goes in for an immediate clash, which Bakugo goes in for a clash of his own. Immediately, the two of them would clash, like pure fist clash, with Deku's wooden armor clashing with Bakugo's pure physical strength. Deku jumps backwards. Now, these two have been training and fighting together ever since they were little kids. Bakugo is a lot stronger than when he was in canon. Alright, and I've also boosted his physical strength a lot just to keep up with Deku's physical strength. Because Deku, due to his photosynthesis, just naturally has a very physically just improved body. Plus, his quirk naturally enhances his speed and strength to a certain degree. Not to like a crazy degree, but to a degree. So, he cracks his neck and rushes back towards Bakugo. Bakugo charges in towards Deku as immediately Bakugo hits an explosion that launches him up. He spins midair and kicks Deku across the face. Deku is flung across the ground, which from here, he immediately lifts up his hand and shoots a bunch of thorns forward. Bakugo then begins to dodge every last one of these thorns as if they were nothing, before booming forward before Deku. But Deku lifted up his hand and flicked his fingers forward. Bakugo looked at him confused as the thorns that were still flying across the room would turn in their tracks and they would blow up right on Bakugo's back. Didn't stab him, but they did blow up on his back. So little pieces of them, very small pieces, not enough to like poison him or kill him, steeped into his skin. Bakugo would literally fall out of the air. He was kind of like hold his back a bit before popping it back in place and booming forward towards Deku. He then hits an explosion, launching forward, slides across the ground, and straight up hits Deku with an explosion dead in his stomach. Deku would hold his stomach a bit in pain, where there his armor begins to glow as he begins to channel upon his solar built up energy. Bakugo sees him, he would think, ah shit, this shit again. The energy then begins to explode off him, so much so to the point where you can literally see like his armor and his clothing have like this little like yellowy like aura coming off it that looks a bit like yellowish dust. That's because he's using so much of his power that it's like his armor and his flowers on his body is literally starting to pollinate. He starts jumping up and down and he bits forward towards Bakugo. Mink, mink! Hits him directly in the stomach 2 times and launches him back. Bakugo then will proceed to hit explosions that launches him forward and goes in and hits Deku with an explosion to the face, and Deku counters with a punch to Bakugo's face. Both of them literally hitting each other at the same exact time. Deku stumbling back, Bakugo stumbling back. Bakugo starts jumping up and down and Deku continues to hold his ground. He rushes back forward towards Bakugo and delivers a destructive punch, throwing him back. Jumps upwards and hits another punch, a Roman Reigns style Superman punch at that. Bakugo proceeds to instantly duck as he sweep kicks Deku, and immediately Mans proceeds to condense an explosive orb from all of his sweat and slams it onto Deku's stomach. A kaboom! Deku's armor would begin to chip away, and as it begins to chip away, Deku just starts rolling back and forth. Bakugo starts running at him as immediately he's wrapped up in vines from his legs. The vines then would hold Bakugo down. As this happens, Bakugo proceeds to lift up his hand to try hitting explosions, but vines would shoot out from the ground yet again, and they would travel up to the sides of the roof, where from there they would shoot downward and hold Bakugo's arms upwards in the air. Deku then proceeds to point his hand forward, place his other hand onto the wrist of his right hand as he balls up his fist and throws both his arms back. A golden aura exploding off him, he then would yell, Izuku, Quirk, Vinus Shield, and he rushes forward and delivers a mean punch. I'm sorry about the name of that attack, but he unleashes a mean punch to Bakugo's stomach, with that punch having a golden explosion combining with the thorns holding Bakugo, with the vines holding Bakugo down. He then begins to punch over and over and over and over. As he's punching, he's counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. He didn't stop. 6, 7. As then he punches this man dead in the face. I'm sorry, I had to say 6, 7 at least one time. But he literally sent this man flying. With Bakugo being sent flying, he hits the ground and he just slowly gets up. Ouch. Ouch. First off, how you gonna say 6, 7 and you didn't even count to 5? You kept saying 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You didn't even count to 5. Ow. Ow. He gets upward. Okay. You little bitch. He instantly pulls the pin. Deku sees, he's like, oh shit! As the biggest explosion he's ever seen launches itself towards him. As this happens, Deku would quickly create his armor and put as much around his body as he could. The explosion hits Deku and it literally flings him out of the entire building, with this bomb literally hitting the ground, and it's still encased and everything, so the hero still technically didn't win yet. And as Deku's outside, pure pain, this man is slammed into another room, and he's slammed into a whole nother building. He slowly gets up, holds his head in pain, and immediately just he gets up, right? He closes his eyes and just unleashes enough veins to cover this whole building. And this man proceeds to take every single mirror that's in there, and he all had these mirrors pointed towards the sun, and with one mirror pointed towards him, the rays would hit all of those mirrors, and then they would then hit Izuku. This man is just forcibly using his knowledge, using common sense, and using the fact that mirrors can reflect light, and just used every last one of these much to just point enough light at him to where it can heal him. And he gets healed. And he just stays in there for a little minute. All Might slowly starting to think that maybe Izuku's defeated. We see Bakugo land as he instantly rushes off. Actually, he thinks he might just be dead. So he just telling Bakugo that you killed him. Bakugo didn't say he didn't. All Might is about to go cancel, but the second he gets out to cancel things, a gigantic vine, a huge one, zips out and grabs Bakugo. Bakugo stops in his tracks, as not only that, a vine would also wrap around Kaminari. Kaminari tries to electrocute the vines, but just like Shiozaki, the lightning does nothing. Well, there you would see Deku literally walking back into the building, fully healed, but now he has completely covered in armor. Not only said he has a very cool and kind of scary armor around his face. He looks forward and says, "Seriously, Kachan?" Bakugo says, oh fuck, oh shit. You know what? Fuck it! As he launches explosions forward and immediately runs in at Deku, not even caring about his own life, because Deku is not playing any games. He uses the same vine that's already holding on to Bakugo to slam Bakugo into the ground with it. He then begins to slam him into the ground over and over and over and over and over before the vine throws him into the air and smacks this man's dead in the back and launches him through several walls. From there, Bakugo will be tied up by his legs, by his feet, and even have a vine tying around his mouth, forcing it shut. Deku then will turn as the same vine that holds Kaminari. Then he tells Mina, handle it, as she pours acid on him, with her acid melting through the vine and even reaching Kaminari's skin. Kaminari kind of aches a bit in pain. Deku then proceeds to literally wrap vines off the walls, and then he would literally pull himself back and use these vines to launch himself forward. And just boom! Literally striking him with a kick so destructive, it lays this man's out. And he lays there just absolutely defeated. He lays there just defeated, and he feels like, well, he respectfully and correctfully feels like a bitch. Deku just kind of shrugs his shoulders, and from here, him and Mina will be declared the winners. They turn around, both turning around to leave, and as they turn around to leave, they will look forward towards him. Hey, do you want to hang out sometime? Deku will just slowly stop and turns and looks at him. Yeah, of course, anytime you would like. She smiles greatly, says, okay, what about tomorrow at the coffee shop around the corner? Deku smiles. Sure, I'll meet you there. From here, the two of them, they get their little shit together. They been all restful, all that good little shit. And yeah, now we time skip. Alright, so we time skip on over towards their little date, because we're actually going to cover it. Deku sits there, and as he's sitting there talking with Mina, a lady will walk up to the table. Hi there, nice to meet you. My name is Oh shit. Izuku, what are you doing here? Hi, Mom. You said you had something to do at the school. This is related to the school. Then where are the classmates? They're all in different shops. We all have to go to different shops in order. You're lying to me. I'm on a date. Why didn't you tell me? She gets all excited, and Deku's like, because you're gonna do that. And Inko literally just runs off and comes back with a bunch of free fucking food, hands it out on the table, and just smiles towards Izuku. So, where's your date? He didn't say, you're looking at her. And Inko turns and looks towards Mina. She just smells, nice to meet you, daughter-in-law. And she's like, huh? Deku's like, huh? And Inko just gets to talking crazy. And Deku's like, okay, mom. As he literally just pushes her, like, literally, he gets up and physically pushes her to the back of her job. And he says, okay, that's kind of why. I thought she was off today. I could have sworn she was off. She literally is off today. What is she doing here? You know what? It's whatever. She's like, is your mom always like that? He says, yes. She seems like a very sweet person. Yes, she is. They eat, they have dinner, they talk, blah, 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 blah. They have some coffee, all that good little stuff. And we're just now going to actually time skip on over towards everyone sitting there talking about who should be class, president. And of course, it would still go down in between Momo and Ida. And Deku would just raise his hand. I'm going to be honest real quick. Ida, I'm saying this in a nice way. I don't think you should be class president. And this causes Ida to say, what do you mean, Izuku? Why shouldn't I? Explain. He didn't want to say, well, you're a little bit too rulesy, okay? And I'm not saying that like it's a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing. We need someone in here that's more serious about the rules, but like you're too rulesy. And I feel like you being class rep will give you a bit of power that you would like abuse. I feel like you would abuse your power and kind of go a little crazy with it. Ida looks at him. Then who do you think should be? I think Momo would do a good job. She's smart, she's professional, and I'm pretty sure she'll be able to handle things. I don't know what it is about you, but I can kind of sense that you're a crash out. What? I can feel it in my bones that you're a crash out. Don't know why, I just can. I can sense it. So yeah, but I mean, hey, you can do good probably, so don't take my full opinion on it. I just feel like maybe we should like have you as vice president instead. As he says this, Ida would just sigh a bit. And well, now we time skip. On over towards everyone sitting down on the bus discussing who's the strongest in the class. As they're discussing this, the class would then would all just say that they have no freaking clue. Because in between Bakugo, Deku, and Todoroki, high key, they think all three of them are pretty even. Bakugo then would say that no, they're not even. When it really comes down to it, the strongest in the class is Todoroki. As he says this, everyone just stops and they all look at him, stunned. He didn't say anything cocky, he didn't say anything with an attitude, he then would say, and the only reason, actually, he thinks it's Todoroki is because Todoroki has Deku's weakness on his side. And that will be ice and fire. Todoroki would remain silent. With him saying, yeah, Todoroki, according to everything, all the teachers say, has a half hot, half cold quirk. We see he's able to manipulate ice, and since his other half is literally hot, we assume fire. Izuku's weaknesses is extreme levels of darkness, extreme heat, and extreme cold. Todoroki can manipulate 2 out of 3 of his weaknesses. Tsukuyomi then would say, extreme darkness is your weakness? That's insane. It's the opposite of dark shadows. He then would say, and then there is me or Tsukuyomi. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to be me. And as he says this, the class just looks stunned. He not only spoke in a normal fashion, he didn't be an asshole about everything, but he was dead serious the entire time. Aizawa then would think that they have no idea what Izuku's really capable of. he 100% knows that the strongest in this class is definitely Izuku. So now we cut forward on over towards the y'all already know. On over towards the freaking the USJ. So they get inside the USJ. Like normal, the villains will still show up. Kirishima will still be an idiot and say, "Wow, they have fake villains." Everyone's seen the fact that they are fake villains. They will all rush forward intrigued. As they all rush forward and watches, boom, bop, bam! Immediately, the villains would all flood in, and like normal, I can still see everyone being teleported away. I can even go as far as seeing them all be teleported to the same exact zones. Now here's the thing. The USJ has a big ass ceiling, right? Deku is fully charged, and they just threw this man in the water. Now this is something that I just now decided to do, but as we know, too much water can kill a plant. But Izuku isn't a plant. He's fully charged, and he doesn't really have that much water in his system. So what they did is, when they just threw this man in a water zone, instead of him drowning, what they just essentially did was overcharged Izuku. So falling into the water zone for like that deep of water, his eyes just burst open. An explosive wave of power would fill the scene. With Izuku lifting up his hand, the entire under the very bottom of the water zone would have coral reef just spewing out of it. I'm pretty sure coral is a plant. Yeah, it's a plant. So coral would just zip forward, literally forming underneath the ground, shooting upwards, and literally shooting out the middle and wrapping around several of the villains within the water. And literally he uses the coral to pull all of them down. The coral would hold these monsters in place, whereas from here, Izuku would instantly swim out of the water. As he swims out of the water, his eyes will be glowing, and he literally proceeds to create a boat made entirely from wood that he gets on. As this happens, Mineta will be saved by Tsuyu, and Tsuyu sees Izuku on a freaking boat, and she just looks so confused, but she jumps down, grabs him off the boat, and jumps onto the other bigger boat. As this happens and they get there, they will discuss a plan on how to reach to the other zone, but Izuku just straight up says he can fly. And she looks at him, remembering that, yeah, from the entry exams, he formed wings. She then says that she can jump pretty far. Deku then will say that she doesn't have to do that. He creates a vine that extends from his back, and it wraps onto both Tsuyu and Mineta. As he does this, he would create an actual pair of wings himself. These wings will be made, and they would literally be used to fly. As he fly off on over towards the area where Aizawa is, a fully overcharged Izuku will see Aizawa battling against the Nomu. When I say battling, getting his ass beat by the Nomu. Izuku looks forward and he would quickly rush forward towards his teacher's aid. As he does so, he runs in and delivers a mean punch to the Nomu, and it does nothing. Deku then would jump backwards and unleash a solar-powered beam of energy towards the Nomu, and it does nothing. Deku just looks forward and he kind of blinks a bit, cracking his neck, running back forward, and going in with another beam. And it does nothing. Deku then would shoot vines out that will wrap around a Nomu. It drags a Nomu across the ground and throws it upwards into the air. Whereas from here, he begins to shoot thorn after thorn after thorn. All these thorns will pierce into the Nomu's body, and the Nomu would literally, his arms would just straight up freaking explode. From the thorns exploding upon contact, they exploded the Nomu's arms off, and Deku would think, oh god. He did not intend to do that. He lifts up the hands, preparing to heal the wounds. That way he can stop the bleeding and the Nomu won't die. But to his surprise, the creature would regenerate. Shigaraki then would turn. You can't defeat my Nomu. No one can defeat my Nomu. Deku then says, why are you calling him a Nomu? What is a Nomu? Shigaraki then would say, my creation. Deku then would look towards him. Your creation? What do you mean? He then would say, well, it isn't my creation, but the Nomu's purpose is to serve me. Is this thing even human? Shigaraki smiles. No. As he says this, Deku says, so he's not human. Shigaraki would say again, no. Deku would close his eyes, as he would try to see if he can use that one ability that makes him somewhat understand whether or not a creature is human or an animal or not. And well, when he does this, he doesn't feel anything. And he realizes that, yeah, this is a monster. It's literally not a person. Bet. As Deku says this, his thorns then begin to grow to bigger sizes, and he starts shooting them to the Nomu. The Nomus begin to explode before pointing one dead at his head and popping it dead in the Nomu's head. Boom. And just like that, The freaking Nomu's dead. He literally popped one of his thorns in his head. These thorns explode upon contact, and not only do they explode, they release poison, and he create bigger ones, like really big ones. Just like that, it's dead. No shock absorption, no regeneration. We all know when a Nomu's brain is destroyed, well, it's dead. And Izuku just destroyed his brain, so that Nomu is dead. Shigaraki looks forward. No! My Nomu! Shigaraki and then Kurogiri will team up together, and they would start attacking Deku. Deku will literally just continuously use his wooden armor and use his thorns and vines to protect himself. As this fight goes onward longer and longer and longer, it's pretty clear that low-key, Shigaraki and Kurogiri are a pretty good duo. He uses his decay a few times on Deku, but due to Deku constantly having his armor around his body, his armor is the only thing that is decaying. Deku quickly realized that this power that he is using is high-key durability negation, because like there's literally no way for him to actually get through this. So from here we jump back towards Deku, who smiles, but at this point he jumps backwards, wraps Shigaraki's up in vines. Shigaraki goes forward in order to touch, but he would use a bunch of vines to literally hold his fingers apart. Fortunate to where Shigaraki can't touch anything with all 5 of his fingers, because all of them are held apart with the fingertips wrapped around the vines. And since each individual fingertip can't decay separately, Shigaraki is realistically cooked. As he does this though, All Might will burst through. I am here. All Might from here will take out every other villain that is there. And from here we will time skip on over towards Izuku going home. As Izuku goes home, he would just kind of lay on his bed. It's been a rough day. Inko will come inside. How was your day? He will tell her everything about the USJ, and he even tells her that he's like starting to feel weird. Inko then looks towards him and will say, what do you mean? He then would say that like he's literally feeling weird. He straight up shows his mother, he removes his shirt and shows her a scar on his shirt from when he was in the forest. He explained that he got this like months ago, and after he just defeated that Nomu, he shows her that it's starting to glow. Inko looks confused and she's like, what's happening? Deku would shrug his shoulders, explaining that he has literally no idea. But it feels weird. Like it doesn't hurt, but it does hurt. But it doesn't. It's like he can't explain it, because like he just says like it hurts, but it feels good, but it hurts. Inko thinks like a girl losing her virginity. What? Nothing. But it's, I don't know, Izuku. It may be something to do with your quirk. Deku would sigh at that answer, because like he doesn't, they don't even, it's not an answer. He would just kind of flop his head down and explain he'll go to the health center tomorrow at school. From here, the next day will come around, and Izuku would actually go off to the health center. As he goes in there, Recover Girl looks at him and explains that it literally just might be his quirk reacting in some way. She explains that they don't know, but it could just be a possible quirk awakening. Deku hears this, he kind of smiles, wondering what that could actually mean if he do get a quirk awakening. From here, he would walk off and he would go back to class. From here, Aizawa, once Izuku gets back inside, will still explain to him about the fact that the UA Sports Festival is coming up. With the UA Sports Festival coming up, he explains to them just because they got attacked by villains, it does not mean that they are going to stop doing UA things. This is still UA they're talking about. So from here, the other classes will come to look at Class 1A, and like normal, Bakugo would still be a dick towards everyone, which will still lead to Shinso and Monoma basically talking hot shit to Class 1A. And this quickly aggravates Deku, who stands up and says that he apologizes for Bakugo's actions, but don't try judging the entire class off of one person. He turns and just stares towards Bakugo. Okay? Let's try being respectful and nice to one another instead of being hateful to each other behind one kid. We don't know anything about one another. You don't know anything about me. You don't know anything about any of them. The only person in this classroom you guys should hate is Mineta. And as he says this, Mineta just looks at him. What? Why? Deku says, don't act stupid. From here, we time skip on over towards Class 1A. Going up to stay. I don't know why I'm singing this. I don't know why I'm saying this. Let's get back into where we were. Alright, so he time's going over towards Deku, walking forward in order to give his speech. Deku looks forward and he would say, so firstly, something's weird's been happening to me, but physically, I'm probably not going to be at my best. But I want everyone here to know, even halfway at my best, no, even halfway at my worst, I'm still gonna win. I'm not weak, and I'm not going to hold back on anyone. So let's not try thinking that any of this is going to be fair, because it's not. There are students who we all need to watch out for, and there are students that we don't know about. So I'm going to be on my guard at all times, and I'm not going to underestimate anyone. But know this, I'm going to win. From here, Izuku would walk away, and everyone would kind of be in an uproar. He was humble and he was egotistical at the same time. They literally do not know how to feel about that. He showed ego, he showed Class 1A classic ego, or at least that's what Class 1B's Monoma said. But he shows a classic ego from Class 1A whilst also showing that he's humble. So, from here, we get on over towards the fighting begins. The fight would quickly begin. And immediately, the race would begin. And I don't see Izuku getting first place in this. Right? I can see him still using his smarts in order to help him get first place, but I just see him just getting a really bad feeling from it. So instead of getting first place, he'll make it to where he gets third place, with Bakugo being the one who gets first place, Todoroki gets second. Bakugo gets the 1 million headband point, and he's kind of freaking out. That is, of course, until Izuku would actually join Bakugo's team. With Izuku joining Bakugo's team, I can see the team this time around being a bit of a mix of Bakugo's and Deku's team, just not everyone being still on the team. With the others just left over, they could be whoever you guys want. They would all go off towards different teams. But as y'all know, I don't actually actively cover the cavalry battle because I just don't see it as anything actually worth covering. So, well, Deku and Bakugo would win. They would get first place. Deku and Bakugo being two of the most powerful kids there. There's no way they were going to lose. Okay? So the first match would still be Deku versus Shinso. And due to this version of Deku, like, listening to the kid with the tail, because I keep forgetting his name, but he would actually listen to him. He does not say a word. Shinso would still talk crazy to him, and Deku would just create a vine and literally wrap his whole body up. He throws him out the ring. As he does this, he walks towards him and says, I already got a heads up about your quirk, and I'm going to be honest with you. What you were saying is a bit crazy, man. Sure, I was born with a powerful quirk, that is true. But a quirk like yours? I don't know why you aren't in the hero course. You were born with one of the most powerful quirks pretty much there is. I don't know if you were being serious about what you were saying, but don't look down on yourself, man. You are crazy cool, and with a quirk like that, you could be a crazy good hero. You're underestimating yourself, and that's genuinely crazy with a quirk like that. From here, Izuku would pat Shinso on the back, and he would walk off, with his next match being against Todoroki. Todoroki would come up towards Izuku, and he would tell him that he already knows that his power is Izuku's weakness. But he would sit down and he would talk with Izuku. And as they're talking, Izuku would basically talk back with Todoroki. And they're talking quite a lot. And as they're talking, Todoroki would tell Izuku about his life. And Izuku just looks towards him. And he tells him he knows that Todoroki's quirk, either way it goes, is pretty much his biggest weakness. But he looks towards him and says with his very serious face that he genuinely couldn't care any less though. He looks at him and says, no matter how powerful Todoroki is, Deku's not going to back down. And he's not going to give up just because Todoroki's quirk is his weakness. He looks towards him. I don't want you holding back on me. We've never seen you use your fire. But we know because it is constantly told to us by President Mike what our quirks are. You have fire and ice. Both of my weaknesses. Fighting against someone who's only using one of his powers, when both of his powers are my weakness, is disrespectful. It's literally just you looking down on me. I don't want to fight you with using all my strength, and you're not even using, well, you're only using half of yours. That's rude. That's rude as hell. Deku would say, I'm not for it. Todoroki looks towards him, as he kind of shakes his head before saying that he will not use his power. Deku says, I understand what you told me, but remember this. It's your quirk, not his. Endeavor could never be what you are. From here, he would walk off. And this time around, he doesn't tell Todoroki the classic line is your quirk, not his, was in the stands. Instead, he told him before the fight even started. And we cut on over towards Izuku in the ring. He's a bit nervous. He immediately covers his body in as much of his armor as he can, making the armor as bulky as possible, using a lot of his power that he usually wouldn't use. He has vines wrapped all around the armor, and he has just pretty much everything he can put out. His vines are glowing golden, they're wrapped around his body, they're just all like fully prepared, like he's ready. Todoroki would walk out, and as he walks out, he looks towards Izuku. He gets into the ring and instantly pops an iceberg. The iceberg rushes forward towards Deku. Deku would immediately stump his foot on the ground as a giant tree would grow on the corner of the ring. He then uses the vine that's wrapped around his arm, and he snatches himself forward towards that tree. He then would form 4 trees all around the ring. Each corner of the ring would have a tree. Todoroki sees it and he would just think, what is he? Deku then would swing forward towards the next tree. He gets into the tree, whereas from there, he would literally, in this tree, this gigantic tree, mind you, start shooting thorns out of the tree rapidly towards Todoroki. As this happens, Todoroki begins to dodge every single one of the thorns, but to his surprise, the other trees also begin to shoot out thorns. He begins to look forward confused. How is he doing that? He would wonder. As the thorns begin to get shot out from all angles, Todoroki would create like a circle around him of ice that then would have a roof form on it like a dome. While all the thorns would be like stuck inside of it, he didn't realize that the thorns aren't exploding. And Izuku can't time these explosions. It's not like he can time them. He realizes that quickly his ice is already freezing Izuku's abilities. He turns with a smile, slams his foot on the ground as an iceberg would shoot. No, as the entire ring would freeze. With the ring freezing, the trees around them would also freeze. With Todoroki quickly jumping out of his dome within the center, quickly he rushes towards Izuku and unleashes a burst of fire from the tree where Izuku was. He would completely burn the tree to the ground, and the tree would burn rapidly, faster than what even a normal tree would burn. At this point, Deku has already jumped out of the tree and he's right behind Todoroki. He delivers a destructive punch to Todoroki's back that launches him back. Todoroki then returned and unleashed a burst of fire, which Izuku would immediately dodge, just for him to be hit by a blast of ice that smacks him across the side and launches Izuku back. Izuku begins to slip and slide all across the ground because the entire ring is froze. Even with his wooden armor and stuff, he's literally not going to be able to just stay standing. He starts sliding around basically to the best of his ability. He rushes forward towards Todoroki, sliding in. As he slides across the ground, wraps the vine around his leg and drags Todoroki across the ground as he gets upwards. He then begins to slip and spin basically, but he's literally slipping as he's spinning, and he throws Todoroki, trying to use this momentum to throw him out of the ring. But Todoroki was like literally point his hand down as ice would spew out of his hand, and he uses it to create an arch that he would slide off of and slides up into the air. Be literally up mid-air, he turns and releases a booming jet of flame. Endeavor sees and he pretty much cheers for Todoroki as Todoroki hits Izuku with that blast. Izuku was literally up against the ground. He tries creating a wooden armor, but his wooden armor will be hit by several balls of fire from Todoroki. Blast after blast after blast of fire, his armor begins to disintegrate at a very rapid rate. Izuku starts breathing heavily as Todoroki jumps forward towards him and unleashes a kick that launches Deku back. Todoroki then would slam both his hands together as he then would throw his arms back and unleash a massive burst of fire and ice. Not the exact one he did, but a bit weaker version of that attack. Deku is hit by the attack and he's up like literally like all of his armor's burned. All of his plants burned. Deku stumps his foot on the ground and he realizes that his plants aren't getting through. He begins to kind of freak out. He's freezing and he's burning at the same exact time. He begins to channel his solar energy, but it's running at a very slow rate. He begins to jump up and down. He runs forward towards Todoroki, and as he does this, suddenly he would lose the solar power, but his eyes would turn blue. As suddenly he would just like I can't explain it, but what you can imagine is you know what? Why would I tell y'all? And I'm supposed to say his disability towards the end. But Deku doesn't even notice what happened. And he goes in for a punch and Todoroki dodges. But boom! A shockwave is released and Deku will destroy a large section of Todoroki's ice on the ring. Deku doesn't notice. He just thinks he used his solar power for that. And to his surprise, he looks towards his hands and they're still glowing golden. In a mere moment's notice, it switched. Deku didn't even feel the difference. He didn't notice the change. Deku then runs back towards Todoroki, but Todoroki hits him with a blast of ice and then another blast of ice, as then he would think to himself, is Izuku using different abilities? Was he holding back against all of us? Because what the hell was that? Deku then rushes forward towards him. He goes in for a kick, which Todoroki would dodge, hitting him with a burst of ice. Deku will be frozen solid, as Todoroki unleashes him with a massive boom of fire, launching Deku back. Deku then will tell him enough of just one blow, and we'll see who ends this, as Deku will immediately channel all of his solar energy. Every last ounce of power he has built up and channeled, he puts it all up to the front. He then proceeds to clam his hand together, and he's about to create that kaiju again. Aizawa and Recovery Girl notices this, and they will both immediately think, God damn it, don't do that again, Izuku. But it's too late. Quickly, a massive kaboom of energy would be unleashed, as Deku, using all of his built-up solar energy, and from the other half of the ring that isn't frozen, he would create the same kaiju. But this time around, it's a bit smaller. Mostly because Izuku is still very much so very cold and very hot. He's literally having heat flashes and he's having cold flashes at the same time. So it's much weaker, but it still is a gigantic plant freaking monster that grows back its fist, charging up all of its built up energy. And Todoroki will use the same move that he did in the original timeline, as a massive clash will be unleashed. And when the smoke is settled, both Deku and Todoroki are out of the ring unconscious. As this happens, President Mike would say that he doesn't know what to do here. There's another match up, and that's Bakugo versus Tsukiyomi, and when the match would take place, he would look forward, and he would say he literally does not know what to do. Now, y'all, I'm about to do something that I don't think anyone has ever done before. And I know that it wasn't done in the anime, and I'm pretty sure they probably wouldn't have done this, but we do know that they do give rematches to people who did ties, because Kirishima and Tetsu got a rematch. But I'm going to do something different. President Mike would walk forward, and then he would say that since both Izuku Midoriya and Shoto Todoroki technically won this match, both of them are technically contenders to, well, for first place. So with that being said, everyone, the next and the final match will be a triple threat match in between Izuku Midoriya, Pro Hero Father Nature, or no, future Pro Hero Father Nature, Kazuki Bakugo, and Shoto Todoroki. As this is said, everyone hears this, and the crowd would actually go wild, with Bakugo thinking, the fuck? They just had a match! Well, I just had a match too. Why do I gotta fight two of them? As Deku hears this, right, and Recovery Girl's office watching over from the screen, she looks towards him before saying, you might want to get around some mirrors to recover your energy. Deku then would show her the same mark from the forest, as then she would tell him that it's getting worse. Deku would say he knows. He doesn't know what this means though. She just shrugs her shoulder, but from here, we cut on over towards the final match, with Deku stepping in the ring. Really quick guys, I am going to have a quick water break. I'm sorry, that might take like 3 seconds. Lord. Whew, man. Alright, so with Deku stepping into the ring, he looks forward in his fighting stance, balls up his fist, starts jumping up and down, all around, mink, rushes forward, goes in for a punch that launches. Whoa, my bad. The match didn't even start. Okay, the match starts. He rushes forward, goes in for a punch that launches Bakugo back. As he does this, Todoroki quickly throws an ice wave at Deku. Deku instantly sprouts his wings and fly up. He realizes he's going to keep the high ground to the best of his ability, because fighting against those two is literally fighting against two people who has his natural weakness. Deku then would quickly hold both his hands out and start shooting thorns down like bullets rapidly. And he's just shooting a crazy amount of them until Deku would stop mid-air and he smiles, as he then would shoot out a massive thorn. This thorn literally lands in the ring and both Bakugo and Todoroki would jump back from it. Deku then would smile as this thorn would explode and the gas would be released everywhere. But Todoroki literally hits a powerful move, so powerful that he freezes it. But to his surprise, Deku's beside him? He looks confused as he's smacked across the face by Deku. As then Bakugo sees Deku still in the air. Then who just hit him? As there you would see a all green Deku standing there. The crowd would think, did he just make a clone? Whoa! Everyone begins to cheer as Bakugo would think, cheating bastard. Deku then would think, I'm just nice like that. You see big brain Deku? But of course, the clone was already sprouted. The clone sprouts as Deku himself would witness the clone immediately create wooden swords from his body. The clone would rush forward as it begins to slash at Bakugo. Bakugo then unleashes a big explosion and shoots a hole right through the clone. The clone then would grab Bakugo as it then proceeds to punch him in the stomach and shoot its freaking wooden sword straight through Bakugo's stomach. Oh shit. Now, Bakugo jumps backwards as he holds his stomach in pain, really just being stabbed straight through the stomach. Now, it isn't like a really big sword, y'all. It's like a skinny little blade. It's not gonna like shoot a hole through his whole stomach. But yeah, Bakugo jumps backwards with him being stabbed in the stomach, and Deku just says, "Sorry, I'm actually not controlling that thing." What? Bakugo and Todoroki would both say. Deku then shrugs his shoulders mid-air. As he does this, Todoroki would immediately say, "Fuck this," as he slams his foot on the ground and an ice pillar launches him upwards towards Deku. Deku then would think, why aren't just making wings of fire or ice? As he literally ducks back, dodging an attack from Todoroki, Todoroki then would say mid-air, "That's a good idea," as he proceeds to sprout one wing of ice and one wing of fire. Now himself is also flying in the air. Deku has his armor ready and Todoroki has his fire and his ice wrapped around his body as well. Deku want to make armor? He'll make armor. Todoroki rushes forward and Deku would rush forward, both of them clashing fists, with Deku's armor being significantly stronger. As he knocks Todoroki back, Deku would literally spin his arm with vines protruding from it as he wraps the vines around Todoroki mid-air, spins him, and again, he uses his vines to slam this man down. Before smacking him across his stomach, he says, "Days never finished. Master got me working," as he just starts whipping Todoroki ruthlessly and quickly with his vines, the fastest he can. As he begins to hit Deku over and over and over, he begins to hit Todoroki over and over and over again, Bakugo is dodging slashes and attacks from this clone. He catches the clone's fist, snatches the clone forward, knees the clone, and not only did he knee the clone, an explosion came off his knee when he did it. The clone stumbles backwards as Bakugo lifts up his hand and says, "Oh fuck this." And he didn't literally unleash a boom, an explosion so big he literally just completely disintegrated the clone. Deku didn't realize is okay, so when the entire clone's body is destroyed, it can't regenerate. Okay, perfect. He then proceeds to fly down towards Bakugo as he kicks Bakugo. As he does this, Bakugo rushes forward to hit Deku with an explosion, but he's hit by a blast of ice. Deku sees as he looks towards Todoroki, runs towards Todoroki, hits him with a kick, but Todoroki would literally hit Deku with a kick. Bakugo breaks free and hits both of them with kicks, throwing all three of them are thrown back. Everyone didn't realize that this is the big three of Class 1A, all going at it. And as this happens, everyone in the crowd begins to talk, but Class 1A is talking about just how much this fight is actually affecting Deku. He's not even going at halfway of his full power. He's getting flung all around the place. As this begins to happen, Deku begins to actually get weaker. Alright, he's getting weaker and weaker as this fight's going because he's getting colder and colder or hotter and hotter. It's happening so rapidly that he's using up so much of his built-up energy to keep his body at stable temperatures to where he can still use his nature powers, but he's just getting overwhelmed. And as the fight goes onward, we can see this fight continuing more and more and more, with them doing more and more crazy things because it's literally three. It's basically a triple threat match from WWE, and this isn't even just like that. It's whoever is the last in the ring would be the one to win. And there you see Deku just literally falling over. He's coughing up blood, a tremendous amount of blood. And there you will see from his center of his stomach, it begins to glow brighter and brighter and brighter before a blue aura just completely surrounds Deku. Deku suddenly begins to feel all of his energy be restored, and Bakugo and Todoroki both return as Deku looks forward with a massive burst of wind exploding off of Deku's body. This burst of wind would completely destroy the ice that was made from Todoroki. Deku stands upward, his eyes pure white, and Deku is not conscious. I would like for you guys to know this right now. He ain't conscious at all. Deku lifts up his hand as suddenly Bakugo and Todoroki will both stop in their tracks before they are pulled by a force that knocks them forward. Deku then would wave his hand and a massive burst of wind slashed both of their stomachs as blood would explode outward, and then Deku lifts up his hand as he plunks forward and suddenly vines wrapped all around him, massive vines, and then he begins to swipe his hand over and over and over with crazy bursts of wind, hitting both of them over and over and over before I hope the mic heard the snap. The vines will be engulfed in flames, burning both of them tremendously and knocking both of them unconscious. As this happens, Deku passes clean the fuck out. As this happens, Deku will be declared as the one with first place because he knocked them out before they knocked him out, and he'll be taken on over towards the Recovery Girl's office. And not only is that the case, they didn't even just take him there, they rushed him to an actual hospital. As he wakes up in a hospital, they didn't explain that he had a Quirk awakening. And the doctors look forward before saying, and this new Quirk awakening makes him a god. This causes Aizawa and All Might to look forward confused. What do you mean? Izuku Midoriya's quirk was nature. It's always been his quirk. But we might as well call this bitch natural, or Father Nature, or shit, God. The doctor then would say that his quirk awakening allowed him the ability to manipulate all things natural. This means that he now has the power to manipulate plants, wind, fire, water, lightning, the weather itself. And most importantly, he now has a connection to animals even stronger than what he already did. He can now call upon attributes from animals and add them onto himself. The strength of a bear, the speed of a bear, a spiritual claw from a bear. He can do anything related to nature, he can do it. And realistically, I mean, there's weaknesses now. What do we even call him? Deku looks forward before saying, I can do all that? Yeah. New abilities, animal empathy / command, animal mimicry, seismic / global influence. Izuku can literally control the global effects. He can forcibly create earthquakes as he wants to, just by manipulating the roots within the ground itself. He can make defensive walls from stone. He can control everything. He looks there. That much power. He looks at his hands as he sparks fire, realizing that he's now immune to heat. Can he control ice? They would say no. He can create ice, he just can't control it as well. Actually, no, he can, the doctor would say. I don't think there's anything he can't control on this planet. They look forward and All Might would think, damn, I was thinking of giving him one for all too. He didn't think about it, but then he figures no. That'd be too much power within the hands of even Izuku. He's not sure if that much power would make him go crazy. The doctor looks forward before saying that Izuku Midoriya is going to be the most powerful hero on the planet. From here, he walks out and begins to think of the hero named Father Nature, and he decides, nah, Pro Hero Wildheart would be much better. From here, we cut on over towards Izuku, returning to class, and everyone begins to ask him what happened. And then he scratches the back of his head and said he had a quirk awakening. And that just led to everyone just asking him all types of questions. He explained he can manipulate all natural phenomenon on the planet. And also mimic and gain attributes and abilities and anything cool that animals can do, like, you know, an eagle's sight, a bear's strength, a cheetah's speed. He can now add it on to himself. And they realized just the crazy effect. He would turn into animals, he would shake his head. No, he can't do that. But he can like call upon their attributes, cool things about them. He can call upon it and add it to himself. From here, we time skip on over towards, well, everyone looking at their little, their internships. And I don't see Deku interning with the likes of, I'd say, Kamui Woods. I don't really know who else he would actually be good interning with. If it's not Kamui Woods, then who else would it be? So I see him picking him as his intern. Now, for the sake of the story, they're still going to be in the same exact city where Stain was. So Stain is still going to be there, and he's still going to basically attack Ida. So he still does attack Ida, except this time around, Deku's here. Well, he was here to begin with, but now he's like here. They're going to be like, these two are literally going to be right beside each other. The buildings where they're both going to be training at are going to be right beside each other. So as they are training, Izuku witnesses and watches this, and he just immediately has a fire arrow form from his hand. And before Stain can blink, he shoots that bitch at him. Stain instantly ducks off to the side, barely dodging it, but he is still hit by the heat that is emitted from it. Deku then would have vines wrap around Pro Hero Native as then he would land. He looks forward with a serious facial expression, and he smiles as the wind itself would swoop Stain up, knocking him towards him. Deku then cocks back his fist, wooden aura and glowing power, delivering a destructive punch that sends Stain flying. Deku then would say his one weakness has always been fire. It's always been fire and it's always been ice. Now, he has different weaknesses to be exact. You know, he's still weak to darkness, but yeah. This new power, it strains him a lot. So he has to be very, 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 very careful. He has to be careful with even using any of his new power, because he can create large-scale destruction. He lifts up his hand as the wind begins to flow, as immediately a gigantic tornado would form and it swoops Stains up. Not only does it swoop Stain up, this same tornado is carried all throughout the city as it begins to swoop up all of the animals around her, swooping them, all the nomos around her, swooping them all up and launching them into the air. From here, he would lower his hand. He turns and uses his solar energy to heal Ida. Ida is not only healed, the effects of Stain Quirk is even removed from it. Ida gets upwards and he looks towards Deku and says, "Thank you, Wild Heart." He turns towards Native and he would do the same, healing Native. From here, we do a fat time skip on over towards, well, the hero. I actually do not see who Izuku will be paired up with, because everyone in Class 1A he works well together with. So we're just gonna say he's paired up with, let's say Ida. I don't remember who Ida fought, but for the sake of the story, we're not even gonna cover the fight because he's just too powerful. So Izuku and Ida would win. And now with time skipping over towards his fight with Muscular, and well, again, I would say the fight starts off with Muscular still trying to attack Hoda. But I can see Deku wrapping him up in vines, holding Muscular down. That is, of course, until Muscular is able to rip the vines apart and break free. He rushes forward and delivers a punch to Deku and launches him off to the side. Launching him so far, he actually flies off to the end. But of course, Deku is caught mid-air. He flies upwards and immediately unleashes several bullets of wind that smacks into Muscular. Deku then would land, and using the hydration from the air, he would then create a water scythe. He holds on to, spins, and slashes Muscular dead across his chest. Koda's seen what Deku did, and he looks forward pretty intrigued, as Deku then would jump backwards and use the water from the scythe he made mid-air and spill a water hose towards Muscular. Muscular then would duck off. As from here, Deku would immediately shoot roots up from the ground, grab onto Muscular's foot, as Deku would cover his fist and vines. He then would begin to deliver punch after punch after punch with these vines. Muscular having his muscle cover his body, for the most part, he's not really getting hit that much. But Deku smiles as he didn't realize that the only part of his body that isn't protected from muscle is his face. And he just starts punching this man in the face. Over and over and over and over again, he's punching Muscular in the face, using his vines to literally grab his head, mash his head forward, and using his fist and punch him in the face. Vine punch, vine punch, vine punch. Over and over and over and over again, before he literally just wraps the vines around his neck and literally starts using the vines to choke Muscular. He chokes him completely out as he passes out. From here, again, we time skip. I can still see Bakugo being kidnapped, and I can still see the whole fight with All Might even going the exact same. But the big change is, though, Deku sees a villain, right? A villain so powerful that he's literally able to put All Might down on his ass. And as All for One is being arrested and, he's taken off, Deku straight up makes vines protrude out from the ground, throw every police officer and everyone that's around us to the side, and these vines wrapped up All for One, and they shot into his body and literally snatched out All for One's heart and snatched out of this man's brain. All for One's brain and heart being snatched out from his body, and everyone, like all the kids, looks towards Deku, horrified. Deku then would crush the brain and heart of All for One, and Deku then would say it had to be done. He was a villain powerful enough to keep up with even the likes of All Might. No one in the world is that strong, not even me. Deku would say, I killed him because it was the right thing to do. From here, we do a time skip on over towards the meeting of Big Three, and I can still see Muriel dropping everyone in Class 1A because Muriel has one for all, you guys. But he does not drop Deku. That is because Deku is literally fast enough to keep up with him. And actually, I don't see him dropping Bakugo I don't see him dropping Bakugo either. So wait, no, he didn't fight Bakugo. He did beat up everybody else though. Everybody else just dropped except for Deku. Muriel immediately rushes towards Deku and he permeates right through Deku. He goes in for a punch, but he's instantly wrapped by Deku's vines. Muriel then permeates through the vines, goes in for another one, but he's knocked back by a burst of wind. He continues to try to attack Deku, but Deku just uses his wind or uses his powers to knock Muriel around. He can anticipate exactly when Muriel's going to unpermeate, or exactly what part of him is going to unpermeate, which means he's actually able to keep up with Muriel as they're fighting. Aizawa and all the other students see this, and so does the rest of the Big Three, and they're pretty surprised. This kid is keeping up with Muriel, and Muriel has one for all now. And I can see this means Muriel likely going to use like 70 to 90% of one for all, no problem. So yeah, this is like a pretty big problem. The two of them fight for such a long time, and as they're fighting, Deku begins to sense that Muriel's losing energy rapidly. And then Deku would actually straight up just stop the battle, straight up forfeiting. And from here, he would actually tell Muriel that he's losing energy at a very rapid rate. Like, he straight up tells him that he's actually dying. Muriel hears this, he looks at him confused. As Deku then would like close his eyes, and he then begins to fuel him with solar energy. As he does this, he begins to heal Muriel. And not only is he healing Muriel, unbeknownst to Deku, using his quirk, he's manipulating the natural gene within Muriel that is the quirk gene. He's manipulating one for all, which I'm never going to let him figure out he can do this until like the end of the video where he time skips, which is coming up anyways. It's going to end pretty soon. But he unknowingly manipulates the quirk gene of one for all and alters the fact that the quirk is literally making Muriel die from old age. He literally altered the quirk. Healed him, and well, now Muriel's not going to die from old age. Very young. He's not gonna die anymore. So from here, we time skip, and we're gonna cut. I'm gonna be real with y'all. This is where we're gonna be ending off the video because the overall fight would happen, but I don't see him. Winning, and I also don't see Muriel even losing his quirk in this timeline because he has one for all in this timeline. He is way faster. Then he's way more than fast enough to catch Eri before the bullet could even hit him or her. So that being said, we're gonna end this video off. I plan to post this video on Wednesday, but I got a random burst of energy and I just have like a lot of thought right now. Like I can really think of ideas right now. And since I can really think of ideas right now, I went ahead and recorded this video now. I don't know how long this video will be. Hopefully it's about an hour and 30 minutes. Hopefully it's either that or at least an hour, at the very least 25 minutes. I really hope. And if it's not, it's not, but I tried. Please like, subscribe, please hype the video, guys. It's basically reposting the video for me, please. We are literally only 129 subscribers away from 5K, and I don't reach 5K before, what month is it? September? If I don't reach 5K before October 31st, I'm gonna cry.